trade is the best thing China can do for itself. Yes, they can inflict a lot of pain on the US, but it wouldn't be economic suicide for the Chinese. See, a lot of people think that the Chinese are stuck, that they can't dump their treasuries because it would hurt them too, because the value of their treasuries would go down, the value of their dollars would go down, and by crushing the US economy, well, they would also crush their biggest customer. Well, I never bought that nonsense. I think the Chinese would be better off if they stopped vendor financing the United States. It certainly makes sense to dump $1 trillion worth of treasuries if they can get out. Obviously, those treasuries are paying interest rates that are far below the inflation rate. Ultimately, China is going to get stuck with huge losses on those US treasuries. They can kill two birds with one stone if they get rid of them now. They can avoid those heavy losses. They can take those dollars and buy gold instead while it's still really cheap, and use that gold to really shore up their own currency and to assure the Chinese yuan's role in the global economy post the US dollar's loss of reserve currency status. In fact, they can hasten that loss by dumping those US treasuries and buying gold. But again, not only do they help themselves, but they hurt the US if that is in fact what they want to do. But they're not going to hurt themselves in the process. That is a myth. They're going to hurt us. They're going to help themselves. And I think this visit by Nancy Pelosi is certainly a slap in the face to Beijing. Now, why Nancy Pelosi needs to go there is beyond me. What the hell is the purpose of this visit? She is the Speaker of the House of Representatives. She's the third highest ranking U.S. public official. You know, if something happened to the president and the vice president, she becomes president of the United States. She should not be visiting Taiwan. I can't see the purpose of poking this hornet's nest for no reason. Plus, it's costing a lot of money to send Nancy Pelosi and her entourage to Taiwan aboard a private U.S. jet. This is not a time to be wasting money, needlessly sending delegations on political excursions to Asia. This is the time where the U.S. government is supposed to be fighting inflation. The government is supposed to be looking for ways to reduce government spending, not additional ways to waste more taxpayer money that we don't have, money that the Federal Reserve is printing. Supposedly, they're getting ready to pass the Inflation Reduction Act. Well, how about reducing inflation by cutting down on unnecessary expensive trips like Speaker Pelosi's completely unnecessary and potentially dangerous trip to Taiwan? Now, I am very sympathetic to the cause of Taiwan, and I think the United States should be in a position to back Taiwan. Unfortunately, we're not. We are actually beholden to the Chinese because we have such a weak economy, because all these years of artificially low interest rates and deficit spending, we've got this huge bubble economy. We now depend on China. China is our biggest banker and our biggest supplier. Our bubble economy cannot exist without the Chinese feeding it. You can't have a service sector economy unless you can import real goods that are produced. And how do we do that? Well, we pay for it with the paper money we print, but that is conditioned on our trading partners accepting it, and the Chinese have been willing to do that. They have taken our paper in exchange for their stuff. But if they stop doing that, our whole house of cards economy comes collapsing down. And that's why we're not in a position to bite the hand that feeds us. It's unfortunate that we depend on China for food, but that is the economic reality. What's amazing is how few people understand that. They actually think the situation is reversed. They think that China depends on us for dollars. But what good are dollars? They're nothing. They're just pieces of paper. And they're going to collapse in value as the Fed keeps printing more and more of them to artificially stimulate the economy. That is clear. As I mentioned before, the Chinese have $1 trillion in treasuries. Who's on the hook for those? American families, American households. They're supposed to pay off the Chinese, but they can't. As I said, it's impossible. The U.S. government can't raise taxes on American families high enough to repay the Chinese. So we're going to default on the Chinese. How are we going to default? Through inflation. Well, if I could figure that out, so could the Chinese. And maybe the Chinese don't want to wait around for that. Maybe they want to get out of Dodge before the shooting starts. Maybe they want to be one of the first countries to actually unload their U.S. treasuries and then use the U.S. dollars they get when they sell their treasuries to buy gold. Now, if China is actually going to do this, and if they don't do it now in retaliation for the Taiwan visit, they're going to do it eventually. But the one thing you want to make sure is that you front run China. You don't want to dump your dollars and buy gold after China does it. You want to do it before China does it. And so now is a great time. Gold is still below 1,800. So give Schiff Gold a call and buy your gold before the Chinese beat you to it. And again, if you're aggressive and you want to really take advantage of an increase in the price of gold, you'll take advantage of the huge decrease we've seen in the price of gold mining stocks by investing in that sector, either by purchasing shares in my gold fund, the Euro Pacific Gold Fund,